Huh. Okay.
Okay.
And y'all don't have to spell her last name.
So cute. I'm sorry.
And we may ask the questions once. Might repeat the question.
It's not about you.
I want her to have the best output. Do I need to look at it?
You just stay looking at.
Yeah, just look at me.
Okay.
Have you heard of a word called archaeology?
No.
What do you know about archaeology?
Dinosaurs. I mean, let's get to it. Digging in the dirt, you found the bones. That's what it is, right?
Dang, I barely know anything about archaeology.
Basically, what I've learned in like high school, like that kind of stuff. Like
Basically, I'm only familiar on a definition of archaeology level.
With the word archaeology, I'm not familiar with it, but if you were to explain it to me, then I probably would give you a rundown of what I know about it.
do you want me to lie?
And artifacts and stuff like that, not much. I'm not even gonna pretend.
So when I first really started getting into reading and studying my Bible, I always felt like I was coming across these seemingly inconsequential or unnecessary details. Say for instance, like in Genesis 31:34, where Rachel takes her dad's gods and then she hides them under her lap. What does this have to do with the story? How does this help us? I don't even understand what's happening. Or in Matthew 23:2, where Jesus is talking about the Pharisees wanting to sit in Moses' seat. I didn't even know Moses had a seat. Is it like a chair? What is this? Or John 5:12, where Jesus heals the man at the pool of Bethesda. Why do we need to know about this pool? What is so important about this pool? Is this a community pool? Or in 1 Kings or 2 Kings, maybe every single time they tell us that the king either built the high place, tore down the high place, kept the high place. Fam, what is a high place? No, seriously, what is a high place? So eventually I realized that I couldn't just dismiss these texts and that these details weren't that inconsequential or unnecessary. They're in here for a reason. They must be of some value, right? So I'm asking around. I'm asking everybody I can find. I'm asking teachers at church. I'm asking deacons at church, ushers at church. I asked Deacon George, the choir director, the sound team. I asked Mother Gerthy at church, the communion committee, Mother Patton, did I say Mother Walker? I asked the pastors at church, but nobody could really give me any answers. So of course I had to turn to the all-knowing World Wide Web. What I eventually realized is that what I was trying to understand was a matter of understanding ancient culture. And that's when I was steered to this thing called archaeology. And I was like, what? So if we're being real technical, archaeology is the study of the past as evidenced by human material culture. By material culture, we mean built features or artifacts such as works of art, architecture, tools, vessels, basically anything and everything used by people in the past. Okay, I can rock with that bet. That's cool, but what about the Bible? What about the archaeology of the Bible? Is studying the archaeology of the Bible a thing? And fam, let me tell you, not only is it a thing, but it's people out there doing this like for real, for real.
I started the MA PhD program in the University of Arizona in 1996. And I'd say 2 years before that, I was at Howard. So from like 93, 94, So you could say officially 93, 94 till now.
I attended my first dig in 2005, but then I went to the first dig, my first season at the dig at Gezer, and that I was there in 2007. And I have been on some kind of archaeological project every year since.
My first dig was as an undergraduate, and it was 43 years ago. So I have a tremendous amount of field experience. Probably the equivalent of about 50 seasons, if you want to do it that way.
When I was a junior in college, it was my first time I went to Israel, and I participated on a dig, and I was hooked. And then I was also a dig bum, so I would, spend the summer digging. So once the semester ended, I'd go from one dig to another dig. So since I was 22, in my 50s, 20, 30, 40, 50s, nearly 40 years.
My favorite book is The Exorcist. In the beginning, they're trying to excavate like some old tombs. So that's kind of all I know about archaeology. Is that it's like the study of unearthing things and discovering mysteries and stuff.
It's about finding history in the ground and dirt.
Mainly what I know is just like digging up fossils, learning about the past, determining all of that.
You guys dig for things, and for you biblical things, and you get to travel to some really dope places that are in the Bible. So.
Yes, so I think people are often not quite sure what archaeology is, like to be quite honest. Usually they know it involves some kind of traveling and digging, but they're not quite sure what we're looking for.
I've seen people go in, sadly, with cross in hand, Bible in the other. I'm going to find Moses, I'm going to find. And it's like, no, that's not the way. You should approach it.
The question I almost always get is like, you're going to go look for the Ark of the Covenant. You're going to go look to see if you can find the tomb of Jesus, like different things like that.
Everybody asks me, what did you discover every time I come back from a dig? And it's just like, we're not looking for this piece of gold.
These types of questions really just come from people's tendency to connect archaeology with the likes of Indiana Jones. That is a person going on some type of wild adventure just to acquire rare treasures.
In the Indiana Jones movies, he's looking for specific artifacts. I'm finding the golden grail or something. He always finds everything he's looking for. And archaeology is not like that. It's a lot of research. It's painstaking.
We don't basically look at what's in the Bible and say, let's go out and find that. We see what's already there in what we find with archaeological excavation.
Okay, so an archaeological excavation is a scientific and methodical process of digging in the dirt. Typically, the process begins with a major research question, and then that is followed up with a lot of research.
Like you've done your survey and you're like, I looked at your geography, looked at your historical documents, and you think, I think this site is this specific ancient site. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to dig at this site.
Then you decide the area that you want to excavate and lay out squares. Typically, they're 5 by 5 meter squares.
We do it as squares, so we keep a nice straight cut so we know exactly where things are found. And then you start excavating. You start removing the dirt.
And you remove it like 10 to 15 centimeters at a time.
Digging very carefully, what we call stratigraphically, looking for the different layers.
A lot of times we're excavating an ancient city. Well, to excavate an ancient cities are layered. You have these cities built on each other. So that's what's labor intensive. You have to remove the layers.
You kind of just methodically go through, remove a layer, remove another layer, remove another layer, until you start seeing something come up. Of course, you're recording as you're going. You don't usually want to wait to record because you'll forget things. So you'll always record as you go. This includes writing as well as pictures. Pictures, very important to help people visualize and know what you had done and what you had seen.
So you have to record, you take pictures and so forth. Because archaeology is destruction.
Because we are digging and we're removing things from where their original context, where they originally either were placed or happened to land because of natural formation processes.
And once you've plowed through something, there's no going back, and you may say oops, but it's there.
And you can't put it back. Like sadly, you can't put it back.
You don't just rip it up, because that's worse than being a bulldozer. There's no point. You need to get the data, the information that these artifacts carry. I mean, you're not just looking for nice looking stuff. You can go to a museum for that. You're not asking, what's this pretty thing? It's, who was this person? What did they believe? How did they live there? What did they eat? How did they connect with their neighbors? You're looking for how it means in their lives. And that's what well-done archaeology can answer those kind of questions if you carefully ask the questions, which means you've got to get dirty. There's no other way around it.
How familiar are you with archaeology now?
A little bit more.
Well, what do you think, based on our conversation?
It actually sounds interesting.
Yeah. Which part? Which part sounds the most interesting about it?
I think the part that sounds the most interesting would be going through and digging up and finding different fossils.
So if you had the chance to go, would you go and dig?
Yes.
No. Well, no, we trust the people who dig for us.
The places look hot and dry and
but it makes you appreciate those who do that.
Yeah, it really does.
Because I think, like with anything, everyone has their passion, their profession, those things that excite them.
Yeah.
And we benefit from other people's studies. And so while I would say, no, that's not our passion,
right,
we benefit from those who do spend the time studying and digging and then being in those hot, dry places. So I think we would both agree on that.